Now, the major roads like Highway 6 and 50 are looking a little bit wet, but it's those back roads that people are saying are still very icy and very dangerous. The water here in the Colorado River is starting to look a little bit murky. That's because all the snowpack from the mountains is slowly starting to melt, and it's increasing the levels of these rivers a little bit each and every day. Well, it turns out this cloud might not be vapor and actually could be some sort of drug. The end of the third full week of testimony in the Lester Jones retrial is wrapping up today. What we're being told right now is that it is an incident with an officer. They'll do that by not only checking IDs, but also through the surveillance video where they can make sure they follow all rules and regulations.
I don't have the Irish heritage. I'm guessing you do.
I do.
The last name of O'Keefe,
I do, very
yeah.
much so. So I'm excited about today. I had to wear my green. And say for some reason your child didn't get on this bus, this app can help. You can see just how much snow did accumulate. As Brad was saying, a little bit over 4 inches, and it's pretty deep when you step around. That means they poder leer y comprender el mismo texto. Do you feel like that's something that's not often talked about by people your age? So we wanted to test out just how safe these goals were when they're not anchored to the ground. An easy way to check if your child's car seat is safe is to simply shake it. Lindsay, you mentioned a couple of very big plays from Von Miller.
2415, I have an officer down. I have a wound to the face, bleeding heavily.
A call of distress after a Mesa County Sheriff's deputy was shot while responding to a call of a teen with a gun.
I heard a couple of pop, and I thought it was fireworks still.
It's a scene Helen Lambrick can't shake. The vision of the deputy lying motionless in her front yard.
When I went out to see, they ran me back in the house, told me go back in the house, stay there. But I did see the officer on the ground. I feel so bad for him. He gave it all.
The initial call came in Monday morning just after 11 o'clock near the 500 block of Fruitvale Court. That's when the suspect then ran, leading officers to E Road and 30 and 3/4 Road, where the first responding deputy was shot and neighbors were panicking.
About 4 dozen cruisers come and they fork off in all different directions.
Reverse 911 calls were sent out to nearby residents, schools put on lockdown.
We need to lock down Fair Park Elementary if it hasn't already been done.
And roadways blocked off.
They want to know how many people were in the car.
As state, local, and federal law enforcement flooded the area searching for the armed suspect.
We'll try to get suspect location and description as fast as possible.
An hour later, deputies arrested the suspect after a SWAT standoff outside a residence on Olson Drive, leaving the sheriff's office working to put the pieces together for their fallen brother in blue.
I've been in law enforcement for 30 years, and you never get used to seeing your fellow officers get shot or injured in any way, shape, or form.
Been quite the journey.
Shocking news.
He almost fainted.
For parents Jessica Garcia and Keith Hawkins going through their first pregnancy.
We were just like staring at the screen. We're like, there's 2 heads in there.
2 babies soon to be introduced into the world.
There's their little hands, both their little hands going up in fists in the air.
But these babies are rare. Doctors say mono twins occur only once in every 10,000 pregnancies.
They're in the same sac right now. They're going to be exactly identical.
Typically with twins, an egg splits into 2 unique embryos. But in this case, the egg splits late. The babies each have their own umbilical cord, but share the same placenta and blood flow.
One baby gets too much and the other baby gets not enough.
And are in the same amniotic sac.
There's the umbilical cord right there, one of them. Just floating around in there, and she's sleeping. It's like right in front of her face. Like
they monitor like
3 times a day.
Because they're sharing the same sac, there's an increased risk of cord entanglement, so the babies getting tangled in each other's cords.
Creating a 20% risk of mortality for the babies throughout the pregnancy.
It's out of my control, so that was the thing that kind of scared me a lot.
She's busy in there.
And while it poses extra risks,
she kicked me up here.
Parents Jessica and Keith.
I don't know how I'm gonna be able to hold like 2 of these like right here.
Are preparing for 2 little bundles of joy.
They're always together and they're always cuddling, always touching.
Knowing that while it hasn't been the easiest road, it's been a blessing that will change their lives.
It's 2, so
yeah, man, it's 2.
Extra special.
Was one of those once-in-a-lifetime loves.
I was just out of college and he was still in the Navy, and we met through some mutual friends and hit it right off, and the rest is history.
A love so strong.
Our humors really clicked. We're both sarcastic but not mean, and so we just got each other from the get-go.
Kate and Derek Gear quickly married. Then years later, the Gear family became a family of 3 and then 4. His family was Derek's pride and joy.
He was not the guy that signed up for tons of overtime. If we needed it, or financially, he would, but otherwise, he wanted to be at home with us, and we wanted him there.
A home that now feels much more empty.
What I miss most about Derek is just him being around. Like the biggest grief that I felt is not having the father of our kids.
February 8th changed everything for Kate.
Just another morning. I was never one to worry too much about him. I figure worrying's a waste of time. It doesn't change anything anyways.
Derek at work.
I had some text conversation with him actually that morning before everything happened, and everything was just normal.
And Kate in an assessment training for District 51 when a knock was heard on the classroom door.
When I stepped out, it was 2 men from the sheriff's office, and I just pretty much went numb at that point.
Kate says Derek didn't grow up wanting to be a cop. Service was important to him, but a common conversation with a sergeant one day changed everything.
And that's when I learned that my brand new husband wanted to go into law. He was just naturally drawn to it.
Derek always looking out for his family, Kate's friends, and everyone he loved.
He's a natural protector.
His wife says it's his quirks that made him one of a kind.
He's probably the only deputy that would carry a lasso in the back of the car, because he loved working the west end of town. He'd be the one, if there was loose livestock, he'd be all over that. I think he wanted to be a cowboy probably. But he just loved that.
When Deputy Gear put on his uniform every morning, his mission was to make the world a better place and touch the lives of those who needed his help. After his death, stories came pouring in about the impact he had on the job during people's hardest and darkest times. Our community lined the streets, marked their vehicles, and paid tribute.
It makes me feel good that I wasn't the only one that thought of him that way, but it's also sad that our community's lost that.
And as if you needed more proof of his commitment to helping others, Derek continued to give, even after his end of watch. Derek's service wasn't over. He donated his organs, allowing 4 people to go on living.
I think it helps me knowing that out there he's helped 4 more people, and they get to keep living their lives with their loved ones.
What would you tell the person who has Derek's heart?
You have a huge heart, not just physically. Spiritually, a huge heart, and a heart that is big enough for anything.
It's that heart full of love for his family, his community, and complete strangers that keeps Kate going on every day, telling other officers' wives to always cherish the time you have with your loved one.
Pray about them, but don't worry about them, because you'll waste time, you'll waste precious time with them.